Did you know there's a hidden cost to every excuse you make? That excuse you made yesterday may have only cost you 30 minutes yesterday, but eventually it can cost you a semester, your confidence, or even your graduation day. Because excuses don't eliminate the work, they simply send the bill to your future self. And today, I want to show you exactly what you're paying. On Wednesday, we introduced this idea and talked about how excuses quietly hurt our chances of success. But today I want to dive deeper into this topic. Hello, welcome back to JC's Learning Edge for another Friday deep dive. I'm so glad that you all are here. I'm JC. I earned my bachelor's degree in 1 year and my MBA in 3 months. And I help others do the same. So if you're ready to learn the hidden cost of excuses, then I encourage you to lock in with me for the next about 10 minutes. Get your notes out because I believe this session will not only be motivational, but truly transformational. So let's get to my first point on today. My first point is why we make excuses. Let's start with that. What is an excuse? An excuse is often a reason that sounds reasonable enough to keep you from taking responsibility. An excuse is often a reason that sounds reasonable enough to keep you from taking responsibility. We often make excuses because we believe that they'll protect us from something we don't want to experience. Let me give you a few examples. First, excuses protect us from discomfort. School often requires us to do things that we don't always want to do, which can include studying when we're tired, starting an assignment when we would rather relax or scroll on social media or play sports or even asking for help when we don't understand the concept. One of our natural tendencies when something feels difficult is to move toward what's comfortable. But I tell you, with this mentality, you won't get far in life. I know it's easier to say I'll do it tomorrow than to say I need to sit down and do this right now. But I want you to think, is this really the decision that my future self will thank me for? The excuse you give, it gives you immediate relief. But at the end of the day, the assignment is still going to be sitting there waiting for you. It didn't relieve you of the assignment, it just delayed the payment. Excuses often make the present feel easier while making the future harder. I'm going to say that one again. Excuses often make the present feel easier while making the future harder. And now that we understand the reason behind us making excuses, let's explore the cost. That's my second point, the cost of excuses. Every excuse we make has a cost associated with it. And I believe that if students were made aware of the costs associated with their excuses, they wouldn't make as many. Because every excuse creates a consequence. And most of the time, someone has to pay for it. And that someone is your future self. I want you to start thinking of excuses like debt. The longer you carry them, the more interest you pay. Now, let's go through a few excuses and the cost of them. First, excuses cost you time. A student that says, I'll do it tomorrow, thinks he's not losing anything. But in reality, now when tomorrow comes, he has to do today's work and tomorrow's work. We don't often think about how tomorrow has its own responsibilities without you adding on to the plate. But by making all these excuses, we're constantly writing checks our future selves have to cash. To go a little bit further, if this pattern continues, eventually you'll look up and you'll have to do today's work, tomorrow's work, and yesterday's unfinished work. And that's how students start to get overwhelmed. That's how they lose their momentum and eventually quit. Now, next, excuses can cost you your confidence. Now, I know what y'all probably saying. How does this correlate? But I want you to stay with me. When you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm going to do this, then you don't do it, you're not just leaving assignments unfinished, you're creating a pattern where you stop trusting yourself. You say, I'm going to study at 7, and guess what? You don't. You say you're going to start working on a paper tonight, but guess what? You don't. You say you're going to get caught up this weekend, but guess what? You don't. And I'm not throwing shade. I've done it myself. I'm still struggling with it. But eventually, when you continue on this pattern, eventually your brain starts learning that I don't really do what I say I'm going to do. And this is extremely dangerous. Confidence isn't built through what you say, it's built through evidence. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you create the evidence of I can count on myself. But every time you break a commitment, you create the opposite evidence of I can't trust myself. And one of the most dangerous hidden costs of making excuses is that you slowly lose confidence in your own ability to execute. Now let's get to my third point. Replace excuses with action. Now, if you haven't been listening this whole lesson, I want you to lock in now. Because here's where you can intentionally shift your mentality. I want to teach you how to use the excuse to action framework. Now, the first step is to catch it. Let me explain. You want to become aware of the excuse. Most people don't consciously say I'm about to make an excuse. It just happens. So you must ask yourself, what excuse am I telling myself? This creates a slight pause between the thought and the behavior. And this is most important because you can't change a pattern you don't recognize. Now, the second step is reframe it. You take the excuse and separate the fact from the story you're telling yourself. For example, your excuse could be I'm too far behind. The fact may be that the fact may actually be that you're behind. But the story is because I'm behind, there's nothing I can do. Now, we know that's not true. You can still complete one more assignment, email your professor, or make a recovery plan. So I want you to understand that reframing doesn't mean pretending the problem isn't real. It means looking at the situation accurately instead of letting our emotions determine what we believe is possible. Now, to the third step, respond to it. This is where you move from the problem to your responsibility. I want you to ask yourself in the situation that I'm in, what is actually within my control? And just start there. We must stop wasting energy on things we can't control. For instance, we can't control that the professor gave you a difficult assignment. The assignment is out of our control, but we can control when you start, how long you work, whether you use your resources, whether you ask questions, and whether you submit the assignment. Or if you have a busy schedule, you can't create another 10 hours in a day, but you can control what you prioritize, what you eliminate, what you postpone, and when you study. So you can't erase the fact that you're behind, but you can control what is the next most important thing you do. Now, to the last and most important step, execute. Now, this is where you kill the excuse with action. It doesn't have to be a giant action, but it just has to be the next action. Many students get overwhelmed trying to solve their entire problem at once. They're thinking about, I have 5 assignments missing. How am I going to fix all of this? But instead, they need to think about what's the first thing I need to do. Maybe it's to start by opening the assignment, then reading the instructions, then writing the first paragraph, then writing the first page, so on and so forth. The goal, is to turn I have a problem into here's what I'm doing about the problem. So we can't just focus on the problem, dissect the problem. We need to get to the space where we get to the point where we talk about what we have to do and what we're going to do. And we actually do it. We have to execute. So let's put this framework into action really quick. Here's the excuse. I'll do it tomorrow. I believe this is one of the most common excuses everyone makes. So let's first recognize it. I'm telling myself I can keep delaying this. Then let's reframe it. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed to be less busy than today. Now, let's respond to it. I may not be able to finish the whole assignment tonight, but I can control whether I start. Lastly, we need to execute. I'm going to work on it for 30 minutes right now. That's the whole framework. It's nothing spooky, it's nothing very sophisticated, very simple. And this is exactly why I wrote my book, Graduating Half the Time: The Secrets of Self-Paced Learning. Because finishing faster wasn't about being smarter than everybody else. It was about learning how to turn goals into systems and systems into daily action. So if that's something you're struggling with, this book walks you through the entire process. So I encourage you, grab your copy today. I have it available in both ebook and paperback version. Check it out. Now, as I close, I want to challenge you this week. Every time you catch yourself making an excuse, don't just accept it. Run it through the framework. I want you to catch it. What excuse am I making? Reframe it. What is actually true about this situation? Respond to it. What is within my control? And execute. What action can I take right now? So, what excuse are you going to catch this week? And what action will you take instead? Now, if this message has helped you, I need you to do a couple things for me. Number one, like and subscribe, join the community. We're trying to grow every single day. And secondly, share this with a friend who can use this reminder on today on how to move from making excuses to executing. And remember, every excuse has a hidden cost. The question is, are you willing to keep paying it? And as always, success doesn't shout, it shows up. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.